Everybody, what's going on? LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. It's me again, John D. Villarreal, and I'm pleasantly joined by John Acosta of Montech.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here, and let me know out there if I'm a little bit too loud or not loud enough. I'm trying to sort of modulate, because I don't want to overdo the microphone here, but I want to make sure everybody hears John, so I'm going to kind of point this a little bit more towards him. We're here at Addie Lakeland, obviously, and we love Addie Lakeland, Cavalli Automotive Group dealership. QAG's fantastic, and we're led by Gino Walsh, who's a big believer in technology and the process and everything like that, as is, of course, Paul Jensen and Bruce Cavalli and the Cavalli team. Now, you have been with Montech, and I think we've used you for quite some time, right?
Yeah, since I want to say 2013.
Okay. Now we're live on LinkedIn. We're not being promotional here, but we're being explanatory, talking about what's going on in here. Now, so much has changed with automotive, and particularly when it comes to technology. And of course, part of the theory, the theme of this is cybersecurity, right? So talk me through what you see it every day. What do you see out there, broadly speaking, of the need for IT and the need for cybersecurity in automotive?
So the great question, John.
Thank you.
One of the most fundamental changes that's recently happening is the Federal Trade Commission updated their laws to include motor vehicle dealerships as financial institutions.
Right.
So that comes with a huge plethora of IT requirements and cybersecurity requirements that need to be in place to be able to continue to enable dealerships to sell and service vehicles. One of the biggest things that we have seen over the years that I've been with the company is that dealerships are no longer, these ecosystems that are tightly grouped into one location.
Right, self-contained.
Exactly.
Right,
it's like
right.
this larger kind of entity that is pulling from all over the place with BDCs, with 4eyes, or geo-tracking with where customers are coming from. All those items have a cybersecurity component, be it multi-factor authentication, cybersecurity training, data loss prevention. The topology of the dealership has really expanded, so all those things need to be secured. Fantastic.
And those out there, if you're listening out there, if you can kind of just let us know how we're doing on the audio levels, and I'm just trying to balance everything out here. I usually am much louder than the guys. I want to make sure that we've got the gain turned up here so we can hear John. So let's talk about this, and this is maybe something that a lot of automotive people want to talk about, right? It is, where do you feel that technology sits within the dealership ecosystem? Meaning, like, a lot of times, like in the past, and no disrespect, of course, to any of the IT folks out there, but a lot of times in dealerships, maybe there's a sense of, hey, I don't want to know what it does. I don't want to have to work with it. I just want it to work, right? Do the phones work? Are they capturing the calls? Are my servers working? Is the CRM working? But I really feel like now we're right on the cusp of a whole new age for technology in the modern dealership. Whether we're talking about modern retail, whether we're talking about those processes with Darwin and everything that Gino has implemented with Cavalli Auto Group that's out that we can see on the Cavalli Way on our website, but also are we talking about things with AI? Like, hey, I can predict, maybe I can predict when we need service, or maybe I can predict when we need, what kind of sales or what the customer's going to want, or maybe how many different ways? Of course, communication, right? And we can do the e-sign. We can sign anybody up from different places. We can take the dealership to them. So I'm speaking a lot of things here. I'm laying a lot out on the table. But where do you see the next area of opportunity, the cutting edge of technology with the dealership?
So that's a very good question. One of the, somebody once said, there was a famous, I think, Greek philosopher that said, give me a lever that's big enough and I'll be able to move the world.
Yes.
That's what technology is. That's all it is, right? So technology is a real estate clearer, right? So our mental real estate is taken up by menial tasks so many times, right? A great BDC agent, how do you kill a great BDC agent? Have them call 1,000 people and get no's, right? 1,000 no's.
Yeah.
So there's programs out there, and you've probably seen it with DriveCentric, other technologies out there, that you've seen that they take the menial tasks away from the worker, right? Those repetitive, mind-killing tasks away from the worker, and you give them the most engaged and kind of that Goldilocks of opportunity. So they're constantly engaged. When I was in the military, I took this class.
Thank you for the service, by the way.
It was my
Appreciate
pleasure.
that.
It was my
Yeah.
pleasure. It was like 8 years of college. I had a really good time. I didn't get shot at, thank God. So, one of my professors was telling me is like, you can't have like, in aviation, you have to have a little bit of it. You have to have the right amount of engagement.
Right.
You can't have too many things that are automated. You'll get bored and you'll fall asleep and crash into a mountain. You can't have too much, manual input, because you'll get overtasked and you'll get tired and you can crash into an aircraft into a mountain, right? So it's like this Goldilocks, and technology has the ability to do that. If you're using ChatGPT for creating, vehicle descriptions, right? That's like 2023, A6. This is the trim level. Create a really great ad for it, and it'll create the copy for you, rather than your brain going through this difficult process of going through the creative side, and you're more of a curator of that technology.
So let me explain, just for the audience out there. If ChatGPT is basically AI technology that's free, open source out there, and you can type some prompts in, and it'll spit back to you some things that are out there. But what I've seen out there in my own usage, and my wife and I like to kind of play around with it a little bit. It's good. It's not perfect, and there's definitely some mistakes. Like when I see social media content out there that I can guess pretty well, like, hey, that's probably AI generated. You can see the mistakes out there. What level of competency do you think like AI or ChatGPT has for automotive content?
So it's all, like they say, weapons don't make the warrior,
Right.
right? The warrior needs to understand how to be
Use
a
the tool.
good curator and what they call now a prompt engineer, because ChatGPT works through questions or
Yeah.
prompts, and
Yes.
you can tell ChatGPT, say something like, "You are now a 40-year veteran of the automotive space. Write the most killer, sales ad for this vehicle," and you can start pulling from those resources, and you're the curator of that, and you ultimately are the author and the curator of the information that's going to go out there. So you can't absolve your responsibility to it. As many
Right.
people are like, "Oh, just put it in ChatGPT and it'll do everything for you."
Right.
It's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
It's really to say, take that 80% load, and you're doing the 20% of the most engaged Goldilocks work.
You're still going to have to review
empower
it. You're still going to have to proof it. But if you, instead of writing 10 pages, now you can do these prompts, and now you have at least the base of it, and then you can tune it a little bit.
Yeah, and so many of the dealerships fail in processes and checklists, and you can say like, create a closing the dealership checklist, and it'll create the checklist, and you just have to make sure that everybody implements it. You can say like an opening checklist. You can say, every time we deliver a vehicle, create the most customer service like the most customer centric, customer service focused checklist, post delivery checklist, and you have that checklist, and they'll create it for you, rather than that all these jobs get handed off to people that aren't necessarily prepared for
Right.
it. It makes sure that you dot the T's and cross the I's.
So let me ask you this: like I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We're not going to go too long today, but hopefully we'll have John back in, and who knows, and maybe we'll be on the radio show and everything like that. But I think, what about if I'm an owner? So I know some owners out there, right? And I don't know what the right number is. We're just going to throw out a fake number, right? Let's say I have 100,000, and of course it depends on the size of the dealership. Let's say it's a dealership, it's a medium-sized dealership. I got $100,000 to spend on technology. Where should I spend? I have computers at work, so I mean we have basic computers, but they're regular dealership, corporate computers. They're okay, nothing amazing, right? But they're okay. If I had $100,000 to spend, where should I spend that?
I would do 100% cybersecurity. If you do not have your cybersecurity shored up, that's the number one investment that's really going to get you in trouble with the FTC.
Okay.
That happened. The law was passed in 2021 to go in effect in December of 2022. They pushed it back 6 months to June 9th of 2023. So it is in effect right now.
Just kicked in.
It just kicked in.
So what is the deal? So what are the cybersecurity threats out there right now, and how would I address that as a dealership?
So, my cybersecurity specialist will yell at me if I don't say this. Multi-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the easiest way to get in a heap of trouble. And if you don't know what multi-factor authentication is that when you log in, like your bank, right? Where you log in, you put your username and your password, and then you have a second method
Text,
of authentication,
phone call.
a text message, phone call, a code that you have to put in an authenticator. That is because there's a lot of spoofing people pretending to be somebody else.
Right.
They try to spoof you into giving you their password, and if you're an administrator, they can take over everything, and there's no way to recover from that.
Absolutely. Tony Zito, general manager, is helping us out here. Says the audio sounds good. He's fantastic. We love Tony and Danny G. Absolutely. And so appreciate that. Okay, so a lot of people would say, okay, well, that's not going to. You have to. Okay, how do I phrase this?
It's not going to make you money.
It's not going to make you money, right?
Nope.
It's not going to get me a car sale.
Nope.
Right?
Yep.
And so how do you? Again, we're not promoting here on LinkedIn, but we are explaining, and we're talking about this. It's how do you explain that value to automotive dealerships and manufacturers and just the automotive world out there? Because you guys work exclusively pretty much with automotive.
All we do is auto dealers.
Okay. So how do you, when you go to a trade show, digital dealer, whatever, NADA, whatever, like, how do you say, like, hey, this is why? Obviously compliance, that's a big deal. But what's your value pitch, if you will?
So, I've been working on this for a while because it's like the most non-sexy thing to talk about, right? It's like technology. And what we've become over the years is more of a technology enablement company, right? The companies that use us the best, yes, lock the doors, make sure that, you have ADT and cameras and everything's safe and secure.
Sure.
But there is a leverage point that, like a Microsoft Teams enablement, right? So you can be a dealer principal, and you're looking at you have a channel for all your trades for the organization, and you have that on your cell phone if you're in Bimini, right?
Nice.
Or if you're in Aspen and you're looking at what the contracts in transit is.
Well, as you say this, I'm thinking like, where did I go wrong with my life? I'm not in Bimini. I'm not in Aspen.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But you have your contracts in transit, and so there's what technology really has the ability to do is to make the system denser and more collaborative, and you have less of these silos. So I'm a guy that's in the background, right? So I see dealerships that are siloed, or they're not working together, or they have like these systemic issues throughout the organization, and sales is fighting with service, and the deals aren't getting to accounting as fast enough, and they don't have these tiger teams that are responsible for things.
Right.
But what technology really has the ability to do is to create a denser organization. Mm-hmm. And you can have the controller speaking directly with the GSM and saying, hey, I haven't got this deal up to accounting yet. I need to get that deal up to accounting. Or you might be a multi-rooftop organization, and the controller becomes the help desk for your accounts payables at other locations, right? So they can share their screen and say, this is how you get into this deal. So you're closing the month on the second day of the month, not on the 12th day of the month.
So let me explain that out there for those that are not in automotive. Contracts in transit, CIT, is super important. It's basically your cash flow, right?
Yeah.
It's your AR, AP, that type of stuff. So in other words, you could have sold a vehicle, but if the bank hasn't funded it, if you're not funded, then you're out, you're floating that money, right? Yeah. And maybe you funded it yourself, or maybe you've got a lot of places have floor plans, and that's cost you a certain percentage. So if you look at like the case studies out there of like Amazon and some others of how do you try to make the cash flow machine the most efficient possible so that you can scale? Because a lot of companies get in trouble, or they may have problems with cash flow actually when they're growing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
because you're paying out the trade, you got to pay the bank. Right. You have that vehicle, you haven't gotten paid from Manheim or wherever you're auctioning the vehicle, so it's a cash flow issue.
Yeah, really important. So you're saying technology can really assist with that?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, and so let's maybe wind down on some of this. It's like, if I'm out there and I just bought our dealership, how do I know what I need to know, number one? And number two, like, if I were to engage with you or any kind of outside technology vendor, like most dealerships, my big critique of the space is, and again, not to, I'm nobody, right? I just know a lot of things, know a lot of people, and you being one of them. John Acosta, and we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about that. You're everywhere. You're Brian Benstock, you're at NADA, you're with the NDL, you're doing so many things. I love it. Automotive State of the Union. And, and so how would I be, a lot of dealerships don't have internal capabilities. Marketing, technology, legal, like they don't. The only thing that I see consistently the dealerships have internally that's not automotive based is like, CPAs, controllers, that kind of thing, right? Maybe is a CFO or a CPA or CFO for the bigger groups. But other than that, they really don't have the internal capabilities. So you're kind of like trust, and that's what happens. Every time they go to these conventions, they're like, "Oh, this is the new great thing. This new chatbot or this new whatever lead." So how is it? And I'm not punking anybody out or whatever, but I'm saying like, question is, what's the best way to engage with a technology third party, a specialist like yourself? Like, how do I become knowledgeable customer and a good customer, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I would say to look at technology not necessarily as a net spend, but to look at it as an enablement feature of the organization. And I would really recommend, there's great companies out there, hopefully we are one of those companies that specialize in dealerships and understand the ecosystem.
Right.
Like that is such an important thing to know, that what the end of the month means and what the beginning of the month means for accounting. And, if a finance manager is down on a Saturday night and it's the last
Why
Saturday
did
of
you
the
guys
month.
choose Automotive?
So my business partner, the founder of the company, used to be a ADP field tech.
Right.
And we just kind of fell in love with the business. And I restructured an auto dealership in 2012 that had a finance company, special finance company, and a small dealership in Miami. And I just kind of fell in love with the business.
You saw the need.
I saw the need, and we just kind of started growing the company. And we're automotive people. I've been one for a decade, and just really fell into love with the ecosystem. I think this is kind of an ongoing conversation in Clubhouse. Is like, dealers have such a bad rap, but they're the most generous, kind employer. They're the biggest employers in the local area.
We're part of the
They're
community.
a huge part of the community. And it's like dealers have and it's like this American institution of what a free economy and really prosperity looks like. There's so many success stories of guys that you can guys out there that are very open about that were in rehab or went to jail, got their life together, and now own 6 dealerships and are extremely successful. And I just fell in love with that kind of American success story of what the dealership really looks like. And I get to have this backdrop as an IT guy, being in the background of looking at this on a day in and day out basis. I'm really blessed to be in this position.
Where do you think it's going? Are you like all in on the marketing, the live streams, the shows, the videos, that kind of things? Or is it more of the lead? Like, where do you think is the real, actually cutting edge of technology in terms of moving the needle for dealerships?
That real estate opening. So what I mean by that is that, everybody's looking for authenticity.
Right.
Everybody's looking for authenticity,
right?
And what technology does is enables you to create more mental real estate. That you take those kind of crap tasks off of the plate, and you can be as authentic as possible and really have engagement, because the best groups out there are extraordinarily authentic. You can see they're live streaming into the dealership, they're changing people's lives, they're really having these incredible success stories. Single mom of 3 that came into the BDC is now a BDC manager and is making more money than she's ever seen before in her life. Those are the success stories of what this industry really
It's not the scary car dealership person.
Yes.
It's, hey, I know John.
Yeah.
Hey, I know John. Or whoever it is, or Tony Zena. Okay, I get that, and I'm in on that. So who do you think is doing it besides Cavalli, right? I mean, because we're here, and I don't want to be biased. Like, who do you think is out there that's really doing a great job with technology right now?
As far as the like progressive
in
technology,
automotive space, yeah.
I know Cavender Auto Group in Texas.
I know them.
They have an incredible group. They have a lot of former CDK, ADP guys that are working for them. That they're just very technology progressive. Lithia, we've done some buy sells with Lithia, especially with this group, and they were they're very progressive technology wise. But technology to me is just it's what you do with the opportunity.
Right.
That's really what it is. You can have all the opportunity. You can have the most technology advanced. You could have the best hammer in the world, but if you don't have the right nails, or you're not building something with that hammer, it's kind of you dilute the effectiveness of it, if that makes sense.
I love it. Well, listen, this is going to be an ongoing conversation, no doubt about it. John Acosta, I saw him here. I'm like, we've been talking about getting together, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, you're here. We got to do it. I know it's the end of the month. Doesn't matter. Let's do it. I'm so glad that we did this, and hopefully it's going to be an ongoing conversation. John Acosta, CEO of Via Montech. Thanks so much. Hey, for John, I'm John. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.